when you download Framescop, you should have a folder that looks like this that you should then extract from a zip folder, but you'll end up with a folder like this. So first thing first, we're going to run framescop.exe. This is going to ask for a username. Just really, you can put whatever you want. It's just so it will label what keyframes you create with your name, so that way we know who created what. Just, it's a nice way to credit people for their work. So it says no data found, frame data folder does not have any valid directory. So it said that, it gave us an error message. What do we do? What we're going to do is we're going to go to the frame data folder. So if we go to app data, so %, app data %, on Windows, it should open up a folder like this. It's going to have a bunch of stuff in it, among which is going to be a folder called Framescop. Now, if you mistyped your username, you can just delete this file and then type it in again. Otherwise, you can open up this folder called frame data. This is where we're going to put all of the frames for the videos that we're going to use. So how do we get those frames? Because currently we have nothing. We have no data. So what we're going to do is we're going to download a copy of an episode of Petscop. Or any short? Yeah, Petscop 4. We'll do Petscop 4. So you could use a YouTube downloader. That's what I did. But ultimately, you'll end up with an MP4 of some sort, preferably an MP4. It doesn't really matter, I don't think. I think FFmpeg supports most formats. Doing a quick playback just to make sure it worked. Yep, looks good. Great. So now we're going to edit this file. We're going to just open up Notepad and edit it. I'm going to change this to petscop4.mp4 because it is, that's what the name of the video is. And we could put this as, we'll just call this Petscop4. That's going to be the output folder name. This doesn't really matter what you call it. This just has to match the name of the video. Close that. And then we're going to run this. And this is going to take a little while. Fortunately, because Petscop 4 is pretty short, this should crank out pretty quick. And if we look inside here, it's numbered PNGs of every single frame of the video. It's actually not every frame, it's every other frame. And you might be thinking, wow, don't we lose precision if we only get every other frame? Yeah, kinda, but as it turns out, it really doesn't matter because, I mean, we don't need to be super precise with logging the inputs because really it's the order of the button presses that matters and the approximate length. And so long as we're consistent. Okay, there we go, it's finished. So you just press any key to close that. So now we have this. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to our frame data folder and we're going to click and drag this whole folder into there. This might take a little while on your machine. I have a solid state drive, so that screened by pretty quickly. We don't need this folder anymore, so we can delete it. We also don't need this anymore, so we can delete that too. Okay, so we're back to here. Now double click framescop.exe and it now should have a button for that folder. So you click that, and well, something looks a little weird about the dimensions here, but it doesn't super matter, I don't think, because we got the, whoa, yeah, something's like way off with that. Hold on, let me open up Petscop 4, the video that I have for it. No, that's just what it looks like. It just looks like that. Did I not notice that before? Okay. That might be an issue with my download. I'm not sure what's going on there, but I mean, it doesn't really matter because theoretically everything's still the same. So first couple, first 2 seconds or so, he's not pressing any inputs. Then he presses right there. So right when that happens, we're gonna hold down Control and then press a directional button that will toggle the right button. And he gets to about there and he stops. It's a little hard to say exactly when he releases the button. My rule of thumb is if the feet are together, he's released the button. So Control right arrow again to stop it. And then you see he's kind of decelerating a little bit. That doesn't mean he's pressing the button. That's just how the game is. And right there he presses up. Doesn't look like he presses anything else for a while. Now we're at a loading screen. Okay, so it's a little hard to tell here, but I'm assuming he's just holding up this whole time. I'm not sure. But right around here, he appears to release it. So it's a little hard to tell exactly when he releases the button. if he releases the button. So we're just going to guess. Okay. So he moves up, and then he's going to move to the left, right there. And if we wanted to view this back, so Control S to save. We're going to view this back. We're going to hit P and play it back in real time. Doesn't really do much for us, but it's just there. It will have to stop if it runs out of cache. I don't load in all of the images at once because that would be really memory expensive. I just load in, a good chunk of frames. You can see that from this little like highlighted area here, the green layer section. You can also click at any arbitrary point to just jump there. Yeah. So once we've collected up some data, we can save it, we can close it, and if we go back up to here in app data, you'll see the TSV is right there. And if we open it up again, you open the file, it'll open that TSV by default. But if you want to open a different TSV, like say for instance, I got one off the web that maybe had a different section than I did. It had a different name too. I try to open it. I open Framescop, and it didn't open it. What gives? So all you got to do is you just click and drag this onto there. You just click and drag the TSV onto the application, and it will the keyframes will show up. Similarly, I have a Google Doc that I will also have in the description. That is all of the input tracks that I have currently recorded. So this is episode 1, this is Petscop 1, and it's Paul's input because there might be cases where it's the demo or Marvin or whatever, and if we're going to do that, they should be separate tracks altogether. And if you tab over, like I said, they're TSVs. They're the format that Google Drive can read just fine. And similarly, you can go File, Download As. You can save it as a TSV directly. So now that we have that TSV, what do we do with it? We go back to the app, and this might not work, but we'll see, because we don't have the full clip here. But if this were all of Petscop 1, then you just click and drag that onto here, and there we go. Yeah, see, if we go here, it loaded up all of the inputs I gave it. So now all of these are already entered. And if we had the full episode, you'd see all the other keyframes that I also added. And what you can do is you can hit Control S again. Here, you can't really see that. You can hit Control S, it shows the status right there. So it now saves to what the file was called before. So when we imported it, it was called Petscop input tracks, Petscop 1 fall, etc. So now we have this as as a separate directory we're saving to. Now the reason why that's significant is that if we close it and reopen it, we select Petscop 1 frames, where'd all our data go? I saved it, right? You did, but by default it loads the TSV that has the same name as the folder in frame data. So it's called Petscop 1 frames, so it's going to load Petscop 1 frames.tsv. So you will have to click and drag this over again. Alternatively, you can delete this guy and rename this guy to Petscop 1 frames.tsv, or you can change the name of this. There's all sorts of things you can do. But yeah. Once you have finished a recording, once you've, or not finished, but like once you've done enough, you feel, you can post it to either the Reddit thread or the Discord. I'm going to figure out exactly where we're going to be posting them, but essentially what's going to end up happening is you can actually combine multiple tracks together by just putting them all in one TSV file and then opening it up in Framescop and then saving. That will sort of reconstitute and resort them, and then if we're satisfied with that, then we can merge it all together and we can put that back up on this Google Sheet, so that way the next person to come by can just download the sheet and get the most up-to-date track. Now, there's a slight problem with that plan in that there's a high chance that people will do duplicate work. So if you look here, the far left tab is called dibs, because you're calling dibs on a particular section. And the way I have this organized is that each row is one episode, so Petscop 1. If you travel along, see this thing called end, because Petscop 1 is like 9 minutes and 3 seconds long, so effectively up to 9 minutes is the end of the video. So really, you're just going to come in here and write your name, Although I know people on the internet, and I'm not giving universal right permissions to this Google Doc to just anyone. So I'm going to get a couple of trusted volunteers, which that could be you if you're interested. In the meantime, you do have comment permissions. You can right-click and put a comment, and then just put a comment on what cell you want to reserve, and then other people will see that. And that should just mitigate any overflow we have, or overlap. Now, I would say I prefer that you don't reserve a spot until you're literally about to do it. Like, don't reserve like 30 slots, like unless you're literally going to sit down and do 30 slots then and there. Just so we, you don't reserve something prematurely. Okay, cool. I think I covered everything. Whew.